lives, although we only really became close about nine years ago or so, which was when we really started hanging out more. The main thing that drew us closer together was that we started a podcast together called Blockbusted, talking about superhero movies and comic books and blockbusters and whatever other nonsense came into our heads. But one of the things that was a little bit of a, well, it was one of the highlights of doing the Blockbuster podcast was what we started to dub Drewceptions, which is a play on the word inception, because in the movie Inception, you don't know what's real and what's fake. And Drewceptions were these elaborate pranks where Drew would spin an insane lie and make me believe something insane was happening, and then at the last minute he'd be like, oh, I just made all that up. And so there were a lot of Drewceptions over the course of the podcast. One of the Drewceptions was when he went through like half of an episode pretending not to have seen the movie we were supposed to talk about. And then he was like, oh no, I saw it twice. So that was, that's a minor one. But the biggest Drewception of all was when we were supposed to talk about, I think it was like a Star Wars movie, like the day, it was the day after a big Star Wars movie came out. And I sat down and I said, 10 minutes before we're supposed to record the podcast, I was like, all right, you ready? You ready to record? We're going to do this episode today? And he goes, oh no, I'm camping in Canada. I was like, what? You're camping? You don't even have a passport. And he starts sending me photos of his passport and photos of a tent and photos of him sitting in the car. And I'm like, I guess he just abandoned me. I guess I'm going to have to do this episode alone. And then 5 minutes passed, and then he goes, no, I'm ready to record. I was just sitting in my closet the whole time. And that was probably one of the best Drewceptions. The joke of the Drewception, the thing that he would get me to believe, was that he was totally unreliable and he couldn't be trusted, and he had totally forgotten about everything we were supposed to do and his responsibilities. And every time he would pull the rug out from underneath me and be like, oh no, I was ready the whole time. And he actually did care. He did care. So I guess I'm going to try to moralize that a little bit. I think going into this week, I was thinking I would give a speech about how Drew is so reliable. Even when you think he's not reliable, he is reliable. But I think in being here this week, I have seen that he's not just reliable, he's also faithful. He's faithful to the watch company that he works for, even when his bosses go on vacation for a week. The week before his weddings, he has to work 7 days. He's faithful to that. He's faithful to his family. He's faithful to his wife. And most importantly, he's faithful to God. And so that is what I love the most about Drew. I have a quote from George MacDonald, who was kind of the inspiration to Tolkien and Lewis. He was the predecessor to them. He said, he who is faithful over a few things is a lord of cities. It does not matter whether you preach in Westminster Abbey or teach a ragged, tiny class. So you be faithful. Faithfulness is all. Marriage is about being faithful. Loving God is about being faithful. And this dude is faithful. Let's play.